Rabbi Yakov Saacks wrote a book called The Kabbalah of Life, and he's my uncle. And he writes in each chapter a little piece of the Kabbalah. And so I wanted to share from it. I read it, and so this is what I took out of it. These are some random pearls of wisdom. Quantum Torah is what we are looking at. Appearance is affected by whether the viewer has a positive intention or thought, positive energy, and vice versa. A waxing moon is the moon between the crescent and the full, and the waning is between the full and the new one. The educator must introspect and self-examine extra vigorously and earnestly and review methodology deliberately, politely, being a teacher, an educator. The Samaria region of Israel's biblical great has buried Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rebecca, Leah, Joseph, Elazar, Itamar, Joshua, Caleb, Nun, Hannah, Samuel, Eli, David, Avshalom, Jesse, and Ruth. The seal of God is truth. We can change destiny by decreeing something will happen. If one only speaks truth, we emulate the Creator. Permission for untruth learned from Aaron, the high priest, who made peace between a husband and wife by stretching the truth. Tiferes comprises chesed and gvura. The fusion is a flowing type of harmony. Chesed is the right side, like the giving. Gvura is like the receiving. In other words, chesed is the yielding, sort of like serving, and left is sort of like power, and the right side is kindness, the left side is judgment. Tiferes is the harmony, the balance, the beauty, the equanimity, the compassion, rather than either. A home is a mini sanctuary. It's called a mikdash me'at. It's where we feel safe and vulnerable and loved. And every day in the actual Beis HaMikdash, the house, Hashem's holy house, God's home, when it was standing, they had tamid every morning, a constant sacrifice, constant daily offering, teaching consistency, reliability, that before anything else is done, we have to do that. Next, when a child grows, one, they receive light like a moon that doesn't have its own light. And then, two, they start to offer their own light. More sun increasing is a shaky period, and therefore the transition followed is a sweet time where they become amicable again after the wobbles and turbulence. When the soul leaves the body before it is buried, the soul is in a state of limbo. It cannot ascend to heaven till it's buried, but also it isn't animating the body. One who makes himself out to be lame or blind or crippled, but isn't, will not die of old age till he becomes like one of them. One who doesn't need to take gifts for the poor, but does, will not die of old age till he becomes dependent on people. And whoever needs to take but doesn't, will not die of old age till he supports others from his own. Similarly, a judge who renders a true judgment according to its truth. The soul of a recently departed returns to the home where it lived and remains for the 7 days of Shiva, mourning, and finds comfort in the prayers and psalms. It's not physical and unaffected by the physical phenomenon. The soul can be in heaven and in a body. It is not a contradiction. No two people have the same purpose or mission. There's a unique DNA. There's no spiritual redundancy in our codes. And while a person shouldn't have an inflated ego, they should never forget their self-worth and the self-worth of those around them. Well, not self-worth, and the worth of those around this person. I wanted to step back a second and talk about how my uncle said the comment here from Torah, how when a judge gives a true judgment. The other side of that, we all know, is don't judge unless you want to walk in that person's shoes. So, he said the positive side of it, but we probably could infer the negative. Anyway, angels don't have free will. We do. And we can trespass God's will and instruction. We're the only ones in the entire universe, and therefore it's a great reward that awaits those of us who suppress a desire to do something improper because God said so. When man accomplishes God's will below, he causes a parallel rectification above. Our thoughts, our speech, and action are felt in the upper worlds. One may be here living 70 to 80 years just to do a material favor, and certainly a spiritual one for another. We learn from our matriarchs and patriarchs to gather together in prayer before starting other tools. the letter shin and the letter sin. There's a letter shin. Its numerical value is 300. Actually, it starts my name, Shana. And there's two versions of it. There's also another version of it called sin. And this relates, there's like a dot. The shin by itself is the shin. It also has an inside itself, it has another version. How do you differentiate? Because the shin gets a dot on its top left when it's a sin. But otherwise it gets a sin on a dot on its top right. When we look at the eyes, we have a dot, right? So the right eye, fondness, compassion, while the left eye is disinterest or unimportance. And I'm making a comment here that we're supposed to use that left eye to look inward. Make ourselves not so important or not need to be the most interesting one. But with our right eye, look at everyone with fondness and compassion. If we're dealing with a negativity bias, in general, looking outward, that's the way to heal. Free will, we have the power to sift among lies for truth and vice versa, to separate the good from the bad. When we look at our body, we know it's on loan. We are guardians and caretakers. We can consider this if anyone's smoking, cutting themselves, tattooing, afflicting the body in any way. All bodies, the medical body, the physical body, the emotional body. And while death is strictly defined to the body because it's mortal, the soul is eternal. The death of the body is skin deep, physical touch, sight only. When a person passes away young, we know they have a special, lofty, unique soul that needs just a short time to fulfill its mission, which usually could take a lifetime. Or it comes down to share its light because someone just needed help. And regarding the self-worth earlier that was mentioned, work is good for self-worth. It's healing and healthy, and we are the only creation that can elevate something physical to holiness. For example, charity, called tzedakah, elevates an entire week's worth of work. Enterprising is not just a means to an end. All the money becomes something holy, in other words. And I'll share finally, there's a great abundant joy to those loving friends at the chuppah, that is granted. So this is the prayer, and it's the blessing at the chuppah. Chuppah is the canopy where bride and groom meet, and this is one of the blessings. Grant abundant joy to these loving friends as you bestowed gladness upon your created being in the Garden of Eden of old. I'll say it again. Grant abundant joy to these loving friends as you bestowed goodness upon your created being in the Garden of Eden of old. And this is Adam and Eve had only one another, just them two. They were perfectly suited. They were undoubtedly destined. We want every pair, every couple to feel that way. There's no one else that would be better. There's really no one else. This is the one. And that's Pearls of Wisdom from his book, Kabbalah of Life, by Rabbi Yakov Saacks, Rabbi Jacob or Yakov Saacks. And I will stop here. Have a good night. Bye.